Chocolate indulgence cake. A fancy way to put together chocolate cake. Cake for those who really love chocolate. The edges are sponge cakes layered with ganache to make that border. The inside has a mousse filling, and it is finished off with a layer of ganache. Since this recipe will be in weight, here is a quick lesson on measuring. Turn on your kitchen scale, place the bowl, and press the tare button to reset it to 0. Doing this will give you the measurement of the flour and not the bowl plus the flour. If you go over the amount, just take it out with your hands. Be sure to set it to the right measurement. The egg whites must be completely free of fats or any yolks. As you can see here, I messed up and there are some yolks, so this is completely unusable. You can crack the eggs into a separate bowl so you could, not accidentally taint your whole egg whites. I know a lot of you out there are using measuring cups to weigh out ingredients, which is totally fine, but most of my recipes are in weight, and it's just a lot more precise weighing them all out. Baking is like an experiment, so precision is good. You can't just wing it. After scaling out all the ingredients, in a bowl combine the powdered almonds, powdered sugar, cake flour together and whisk it together. So many togethers. Add in the whole eggs and not the eggs you separated. Whisk this together until light and pale. Until it looks like this. In a mixer, add in the egg whites and whip this on the speed level of 6. Once it's foamy, you can sprinkle in your sugar, very little at a time, and continue whipping this until it forms stiff peaks. Stiff peaks is when it's stiff and kind of shiny and white. How long this takes, it really depends on the egg whites. Be sure to do this in the smaller bowl. It might not whip up as well in a bigger bowl. Fold in that pale yellow stuff that you made earlier and try to be gentle when folding this together because we need its fluffiness to make the cake fluffy. Line a half-sheet tray with parchment paper. I know this is so matte right now, just pretend it's parchment paper. Spread the batter evenly across the pan and making sure to get all the corners. Bake at 350 degrees Fahrenheit for 15 minutes or until golden. To make chocolate mousse, you just need 2 ingredients, heavy cream and chocolate chips. In a double boiler, which is a heated pan of water filled up like 1/4 of the way and a bowl placed on top of it. Make sure the bowl does not touch the water. Melt the chocolate chips. Be sure to give it a little stir, pushing it around so nothing burns. Whip up the heavy cream until stiff. Once the chocolate is melted, you can add it into the whipped cream. Fold it together until it's all combined. To make ganache, you're using the 2 same ingredients but in different amounts, and it's prepared in a different way. You boil the heavy cream. Once you see it coming up, it's ready. Turn off the heat and pour it into the bowl of chocolate chips. Wait 30 seconds before stirring. Stir until this becomes smooth. Usually I use the whisk, but I couldn't find mine, so I'm using a fork. You need to cut out a circle that will leave about 1/4 of an inch in your cake pan. Remove your sponge cake from the pan, running your knife along the edges very carefully. It should lift up pretty easily since you've used parchment paper. Carefully place this onto a cutting board and flip it over. Remove the parchment paper. Cut out 2 circles on the side. If it's a little bit bigger, it's okay, because you'll be able to trim it down later. If it's too small, you're kind of stuck with that. I made mine different sizes because at this point I couldn't decide whether I should make 2 cakes. Then I realized it was only enough to make 1 small cake. So I only really used 1 circle for this cake. Trim the cake down to get a square and cut this into 4 equal pieces. Set aside 3 of the pieces to make room for your cake assembling process. Just making this stuff up as I go, guys. Spread a thin layer of ganache onto one of the pieces. We want it to be very thin. Should use about like 2 tablespoons. Add another layer of sponge cake. Another layer of ganache. Sponge cake. Press it down very gently to even it out. I have a small tear in my cake, but I'm gonna pretend I didn't see it. More ganache. I think I went a bit heavy on the ganache. If I were to do it again, I would make it more thinner. Sponge cake. Ganache. Throw this into the fridge and let the ganache set before cutting, trimming off the edges. Before each cut, make sure to wipe and clean your knife for clean cuts. If you feel like it's getting a bit too raunchy, feel free to throw it back in the fridge. Cut the cake into 3 pieces, or 3 equal rectangles. I'm placing one of the pieces behind the other piece so I could get equal pieces. Cut off 1/4 of an inch and cut out more 1/4 of an inches. These will be our borders or edges. Line the pieces that we cut onto the edges of a springform pan or charlotte pan. Try to push them together as tightly as you can and make them really compact. Sorry if it's a little weird I'm wearing gloves. I kinda was washing dishes earlier and the cup exploded in my hands and my hand was bleeding. So I basically almost died. That's why I'm wearing these gloves. Add the sponge circle into the center. Trim it very carefully with a knife if needed. Fill it with chocolate mousse and spread it very evenly. I'm using my tiny spatula to spread it out. I used up all the mousse in the recipe and it filled all the way up until it filled my borders. If you need to, warm up the ganache before spreading it on top of the mousse, and I'm just shaking it around till it comes out even. Cover, refrigerate until firm or overnight. Since I'm using a springform pan, all I need to do is unlock it and pull it out. Results. I was super nervous about removing my pan but it came off really easily. I thought it was going to stick to the pan and fall apart. Spin, spin, spin. This part is optional. You could dust it with cocoa powder. With the extra ganache that you made, you could throw it into a Ziploc bag and snip the ends and pipe on lines and make whipped cream with cream and sugar. Thanks for watching, and I hope you'll try out this recipe. If you do, send it to one of my social media sites down below. So I just would like to mention that we've finally reached 8,000 subscribers. That wouldn't have even been possible without you guys. If it weren't for all of you and your comments and likes and thoughts and subs and everything, I'd just be like one really lonely girl baking by herself in the dark. My cousin suggested the other day that I do a giveaway, but I have no idea what would I give away. If you have any suggestions, what would you like, or what would be a good giveaway item, comment down below. I've seen on Amazon that they set up giveaways. I was thinking about doing that, but that would limit my giveaways to only United States. And I know like a lot of you are from out of the United States, so that seems kind of fair too. But if you know any other forms of giveaway programs, let me know. Let me know your thoughts on giveaways, if you think it's like pointless or shallow or a waste of time. Watch my previous video.